How are you? And welcome back to the Early Bar Football Podcast. This is a Newcastle takeover, boys. That was my accent. Terrible, wasn't it? You weren't expecting
If I shut my eyes, that was almost true Geordie.
That really was. I could do it. My mum's technically Geordie, so I can do a half bad Geordie accent and get away with it. What have you just put in the private chat here? So tempted to talk. Oh, is that in the?
It was, yeah. I got slaughtered for it last week. I found the unmute button during the countdown and got shouted at.
I didn't shout at you. I just said, "Be quiet."
Raised your voice.
Raised my voice. I wasn't shouting. Anyway, do the intro. Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the Early Bar Football Podcast. We're back. It's Friday night, the 8th of October. A great happy birthday to Yazin, by the way, if he ever listens. It's his birthday from school. Great footballer. Morocco's finest export, I think. Yazin is. Anyway, Chris is with me today. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Mr. Tang.
Hello. And you've already heard Ed. Ed, hello.
Hello.
You all right, Ed?
Yeah, very well.
Good.
Very good.
Chris, are you okay?
Yeah, not too bad. Looking forward to talking a bit more football with you boys. Obviously, highlight of the week and that.
Oh, well, if you say so yourself, we can segue right into the biggest story of the week, which is, of course, Newcastle United being taken over by Saudi Arabia, pretty much. For those that have missed it, where have you been? Newcastle have new owners. Mike Ashley's gone, even though sportsdirect.com, UK's number one, is still the UK's number one sports company shop, whatever it is. But he's gone, and they've got the Saudi, it's like a Saudi investment group or something, whatever they're called, like a really boring name. They should probably...
It's like PFI, isn't it? I think PIF.
Yeah.
That's the
Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund.
That's the one. That's the one we're looking for, Ed.
For all the
sorry, go on, Chris. I was about to say it's like playing a game of Family Fortunes. Like survey says, right answer.
Survey says we've got a butt ton of money. That's what they said. I think it's like they're worth 10 times as much as City, which is very, very scary and a frightening prospect, I think. But we'll dive straight into it. We'll sort of, we're football fans first and foremost. So, Chris, as a football fan, if you're a Newcastle fan, imagine you're a Geordie man, you like Greggs, and you're a Magpie. That's a massive overassumption to all the Geordies about. I just know there's loads of Greggs up in Newcastle. I'm pretty sure there's a street where it's like a Greggs something and then a Greggs next door to it. I think that's somewhere up north in the northeast. But Chris, if you're a football fan, what do you think?
Well, obviously, my views on oil money and football and that Tang. But although in fairness, I will hold my hands up and say I am a hypocritical monster and say if that takeover happened to either Oxford or Arsenal, I'd be loving it. If I'm being honest, I'd loving it. But from a football point of view, I mean, obviously, if I was like a Newcastle fan, I can obviously understand their joy and glee that they finally got rid of a guy that had been, not interested in the club. I mean, I can imagine Mike Ashley doesn't really care. He's got his £300 million for selling. He didn't treat Newcastle, as a football club. He just treated it as an asset he had, and was giving him money, and that. Whereas obviously all Newcastle fans wanted was just owners that cared about not only just the club in general, but obviously the community. Because I've actually been fortunate enough to go and watch a game at St James's Park. It was back January 2020 when the mighty Yellows of Oxford United played them in a 4th round FA Cup tie and got a draw against them, which is a fantastic result for Oxford. But obviously being at St James's Park, it's slap bang right in the middle of Newcastle city centre and that. And I will admit I have been a bit of a monster and I have gathered some notes that I'll be referring to and that. And I think one of the notes I've made is quite interesting when it comes to the fans of Newcastle. So obviously attendances before obviously the pandemic sort of happened and whatnot, Newcastle were averaging it was around 49,000 to about high 50, 51,500. So obviously they wasn't selling out St James's Park, but I can imagine now that obviously the Newcastle fans, obviously we saw the scenes yesterday that they was all outside the stadium celebrating with plenty of cans in the streets and that. I can imagine that they're going to be selling out a lot more, hitting that 52,000 seater, they obviously sell out week in, week out. But like, as a part-time Arsenal fan, and I think if I'm a fan of the other Premier League clubs, I'd be worried and threatened by Newcastle because, like you said, Tang, it's not like we're talking Man City and PSG levels of money. We're talking their money plus more money on top of that. Newcastle are going to be a big threat in the Premier League for not only short term but for years to come.
Yeah. Ed, hello, welcome, good evening. Newcastle as a city, it's a one club city. There's so much passion up there with the Geordies. I think you always see it on Match of the Day where they say, it's like a religion up there. It's like a religion. Have the Saudis, have they done a good job in sort of choosing Newcastle as having a potential to be a big team for them, a big club? Have they invested wisely?
I think on the face of it, people have been saying for years that if you were going to buy a Premier League club, Newcastle's the one to go for. Like I said, they're a one-club city. They've got a huge fan base. They've got a pretty substantial stadium as well, because that's sometimes quite a big investment that clubs have to make. Look at Tottenham, Arsenal not too long ago, investing big money in a 60,000-seat stadium. Newcastle have pretty much already got that, I think. Do you know what the full attendance is, Chris? Sorry, I asked you that.
You caught him mid-drink.
What for St James's Park? Or
yeah.
As
soon as you had the official attendance stats,
I think it is like it's like 50. I don't know the exact figure, but it's like 52,000 and something odd.
Yeah,
I'm going to fact check this right now, lads.
Yeah, and it's a massive fan base. They sell it out for the last couple of years, even though they hate the owner and the team play rubbish football. They still go every week, even when they went down to the Championship. They were still selling at least like 30,000. So it's an incredible opportunity. I said in the chat midweek that if you just put in a little bit of money, it will probably go a long way. And I think that's slightly contradictory, because Mike Ashley would turn around and say, well, I have actually put in money, and look at some of the investments that I've made over the last even 5 or 6 years. I think he's just lost interest in it, hasn't he? He's put in his own money. It was obviously a good opportunity. He's from the city. It seemed like the perfect coupling, really, but he's put in a lot of money and he's just not got the return he was hoping for. Newcastle haven't bounced back to the Champions League nights that they had back in the early 2000s. They've not really got anywhere close, I don't think. So he's just had enough of it. He's cut his losses. He's a very ruthless businessman, and he's decided, no, we'll just keep them balancing the books. Whatever we make, we'll reinvest, but I'm not putting any of my own money in. So from that sense, you can say, fair enough. But from a Newcastle fan's perspective, that's not what you want, is it? And it's gone on for a long time. He's been looking to sell the club, and that's been his stance for a long time now, and that really takes its toll on the fans. So yeah, going back to your original question, it's an unbelievable. The potential of Newcastle is unbelievable. I think they've got quite a big issue behind the scenes as well to resolve. It's not just buying players for 30, 40, 50 million. Their training ground, I think, is notoriously poor. I think until not long ago, they had actual baths with ice in them outside, and that was their equivalent of an ice bath. So I think the training ground needs redoing. And they've had quite a few instances historically where their big players, youth players, have had to go elsewhere in order to really make a name for themselves. Yeah. Alan Shearer obviously had to do that at one point. Michael Carrick had to go down to London to really make a name for himself. So if they can improve that, because there's always so much talent football-wise that comes out of Newcastle, isn't there? Mm-hmm. That you could name several very decent footballers that are from up that way. So if they can invest a little bit in their youth system as well, that sets them up for the future. But yeah, on the pitch, they need a bit of investment, because they've got pretty much so far this season, Alan Saint-Maximin is keeping them going. So they need big investment. We'll probably come on to it in a minute, but I don't know quite how big they're going to go in January. I don't know whether they're going to rock the boat too much and just bring in 11 new players. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's an unbelievable investment opportunity. And I think that's probably what's scariest for everybody else in the Premier League. Certainly the big six, as they're called, are going to be quaking in their boots at the prospect of a £33 billion organisation or £330 billion investment fund coming and buying a football club.
Yeah, I think what you've said there about retaining players in the training ground is absolutely spot on. There's so many good players that are in the North East. You've said Shearer, Carrick, Jordan Henderson's from Sunderland, I think, in North East anyway. And obviously the true Geordie's an absolutely unbelievable footballer as well. His head is unbelievable. But to segue nicely from that, players. Obviously in this sort of era of social media, we've been able to see players and past players and a lot of people in the footballing world that have their opinion, because everyone has an opinion on social media.
Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one.
There you go. And Alan Shearer is very happy. Alan St. Maximin is very, very happy. As you said, he's their star player. He's got the most sort of leverage in terms of everything. But Chris,
it's a bizarre one, isn't it? Just before we go on to that, I saw Alan St. Maximin and Callum Wilson tweeting "Oh, we got new owners." I just found it a bit bizarre because, from a player's perspective, yes, I suppose it is a good thing because they're going to invest money and the team's going to get better. But also, are they not a bit worried about their place in the first team? Yes, Callum Wilson is their best striker. Alan St. Maximin is their best midfield player or winger. But everybody else is probably looking over their shoulder thinking, ooh, I might be in trouble here. I just found it a bit strange.
It's very strange. Chris, do you think John Joe Shelvey will be lining up for Newcastle next season with Kevin De Bruyne and Kylian Mbappe?
No, I generally think John Joe Shelvey will probably be one of the players that are probably going to be in big trouble and will probably be one of the players that get replaced and that. But obviously, it's interesting because I make a lot of comparisons to this takeover to when Sheikh Mansour sort of took over at Man City. And the funny thing with that is that they literally took over on deadline day in 2008, and they managed to get Robinho sort of over the line on that day. But then, you look at Man City's spending throughout that. I've sort of done a bit of research during my lunch break today and whatnot, and I think in terms of net spend, it took Man City a net spend of just over 293 million just to get their first major trophy, and that was the FA Cup in 2011 when obviously Yaya Toure scored against Stoke in the final, and then obviously a year later their net spend went up to 330 million, and obviously that was when Aguero scored that last minute winner to get Man City the league title from Manchester United on goal difference and that. So obviously if Newcastle are going to be wanting to challenge under this ownership, obviously they will have to spend, and obviously they will have to get rid of the dead wood. But like we said, these investors, this investment company, have so much money that I think they're willing to cut their losses. I mean, Joe Linton, Sir Joseph Linton, as I like to call him, is Newcastle's record signing at 40 million. And I can honestly imagine this ownership just going, we'll take 5-10 million for him. We're not really that bothered if we lose out on money on him, because one, it was a Mike Ashley signing anyway, and two, they've got so much money. It was like when PSG would turn down offers for Kylian Mbappe, to them 220 million or 220 million euros is pocket change. And obviously to this investment group, that's going to be pocket change to them. But obviously I can't see someone like John Joe Shelvey line up alongside De Bruyne and Kylian Mbappe. But it will be interesting to see who is going to be the big marquee signing for Newcastle United. I know we've sort of said in our group chat of players it could be. It wouldn't surprise me if Newcastle just raided Barcelona, to be honest, because obviously Barcelona are a club that need the money, and I think you look at some of Barcelona's players, like one that comes to mind is Ousmane Dembele. He's out of contract in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Like Newcastle could either, pre-contract him in January, and obviously we'll have money to afford his wages, or they might just say, "Here you go, Barcelona. We'll give you, a certain amount of money, maybe even like a cut price, 30-40 million for him, and just say, look, you need the money. You're not gonna get him down on a new deal, and we can obviously offer him pretty much the world now. We got money in that. So, and I know obviously Coutinho is another name that we've been told with. And I know Coutinho was previously linked, like sort of, it was around this time last year when I know Amanda Staley in her interview said that they've been trying for 4 years to buy Newcastle United and that, but obviously it gained a lot more traction sort of last year, sort of September time. And I know a lot of people were thinking, Newcastle are gonna, assemble an absolute Galactico team here, and I know Coutinho was one of the names that they was linked with last season. So it will be interesting to see what they do in the future in terms of like the transfer fund. But like going back to Ed's point in regards to sort of the off the field stuff, again, like the comparison with Man City, you look what Man City have done off the pitch. Like, it's been fantastic. They've invested money into the Manchester community. They built a state-of-the-art training sort of it's not even a facility, it's a massive complex where they've got so many football pitches for the community to use. And Man City don't just have one of the best men's team, they also have one of the best women's team as well, that they've heavily invested into that. I was just trying to think of the word. It's like, I'm sure I know the word invested in that, but yeah. So I think that's what Newcastle fans want. They just want an owner that not only cares about what happens on the pitch at Newcastle United, but an owner that cares about what happens off it as well.
Yeah, but I'm going to make a slightly controversial statement here. You just compared them to Man City, but I also think they should possibly look at Arsenal. And the reason for that is Arsenal have this unbelievable infrastructure. They've got this amazing stadium, unbelievable academy that they've built over several years, pretty much all of Wenger's reign as manager. And although Arsenal aren't playing very well at the moment, the chap from Spotify still can't buy it, even though he's bid like €2 billion. Whereas these guys have got Newcastle for 300 million. So if they invest money, they could easily make Newcastle as successful as Arsenal in terms of the value of the club without having to spend that much money, I don't think. A couple of 100 million, okay, is still a lot of money, but if the final package is right, you can easily make a lot of money in this game.
Yeah, and it's interesting you talk about success there, Ed, because obviously the last time Newcastle won a major trophy was 1955, which was the FA Cup. Do you know what team they beat in the final? Just an open question for you both.
Was it Arsenal?
It wasn't Arsenal, but it was a current Premier League club. Tang, do you want to?
I'll go for Liverpool.
No, but close though. Man City, they beat Man City 3-1.
Irony there.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
It could be a bit of foreshadowing what's to come, not just in cup competitions, but maybe in the league as well. And
absolutely.
But again, that's what Newcastle fans want. They just want a team that's not only going to do a lot for the community and for like the club, and that they just want a team that can compete on the pitch, which under Mike Ashley they just haven't had at all.
I'm going to be so interested to see how they play it, the owners. Like, yes, we've mentioned loads of times they got loads of money, but they haven't got 300 billion to spend. Like, that's tied up in investment. So how are they going to play it? How much are they going to spend in January? How much are they going to spend next summer? What areas are they going to target first?
Yeah.
How much are they actually going to pay players? Because like PSG, for example, spend silly money on players' wages. Are Newcastle going to do that? How does that then impact the players that are already at the club? Do they then give them all new contracts? Surely not. But then you equally can't get rid of them all. And how does it work in training every day when you got people like, I don't know, Matty Longstaff on 40k a week, and then you bring in Coutinho on 200k a week? It's just, it's going to be bizarre. It's interesting to see how they're going to play it.
it's going to be very interesting. And, Ed, I think it's a really good point about that. Not just comparing it to City, but comparing it to Arsenal with the infrastructure and everything. That's a really good point that I think people might be missing. And you saying Newcastle could be as good as Arsenal. They could get that 0-0 draw away at home against Brighton. With all that money, that would be good for them, wouldn't it? That'd be progress. But before I go to you, Ed, Chris, one player who is going to be Newcastle United's Robinho. If you, the marquee signing, if you could make a very early Bath prediction of who Newcastle's Robinho is, give me a name.
Oh, we should before you answer, we should flip that on its head. So, who's the one player that Newcastle are going to sign, and who's going to be the one player that gets an early Bath and they sell first?
Oh, okay.
I think we know the answer to that, though. So probably going to be the big lump up front.
Go on, Chris.
So I think their Robinho signing, I'm going to stick with a fellow Brazilian of his, and I'm going to say Philippe Coutinho from Barcelona. Might be playing it a bit safe, but I generally think like he would go to Newcastle with the money, and obviously just the way he hasn't been like right at Barcelona. Not only that, obviously, all right, Newcastle to Liverpool, it is still quite a fair distance away, but obviously he would have lived in Liverpool. I can imagine like his family would have settled there over the period. In terms of the first Newcastle player to sort of say, you're not welcome anymore. It's like that song, just turn around now, you're not welcome anymore. And I'm just stalling here, aren't I? In that,
absolutely. It's great stalling. I'm going to leave you to
it. But yeah, I'd probably go for either one of Sir Joseph Linton or Dwight Gale. I can see Dwight Gale just being sold to a championship club because he's a great championship player. Bless him.
Can I stop you there, Chris? A guest has joined us.
Sorry, I hadn't been here in a while. I just want to say hello to everybody.
This is Josh Leafy from a
Waitrose on a break.
He's on a break, line managers. Can we just say? Everyone's going to sue.
On a break.
We're on a break.
Leif, a really quick one.
Newcastle takeover.
Yeah, a really quick one. Who do you think is going to be the big signing?
Next big sign. What did I say yesterday?
I'm just flicking through. You said
I think it was someone like Cavani.
Ooh.
Pepe, yeah, I forgot Pepe was like 39. 38. Yeah. I didn't realise how old he was. But I think Cavani's a good shout.
Marquinhos?
I think Cavani's a good shout. I think Tang said that the other day.
Yeah.
Aaron Ramsey, yeah, that was the one. Free transfer. He's obviously he's not playing at Juventus at all. So Aaron Ramsey, I think is a viable next big transfer. And I think it would be a big transfer. He's a solid player. So that'll be the next big one. And that's my input for tonight. Get Fred out of my club.
And just like that, he's gone. That's unbelievable. That's great.
He's gone to cut some fish.
He's doing. Yeah, he's the greatest fishman.
Fishmonger.
Fishmonger. That's the one.
Yeah.
Fishman.
Fish shagger, as Chris calls him. Unbelievable comedic timing again, right? As Chris takes a drink.
So yeah, Chris, did you finish your point? I'm really sorry for cutting you off there. Did you finish your point?
Coutinho, I think.
Yeah, I went for Coutinho to sign either one of Joe Linton or Dwight Gale to be sold first.
Ed, the question to you: who's going to be Newcastle United's Robinho, and who's off ski straight away?
The signing was a tricky one, isn't it? We went through a couple of them there. I think, like Leif said, Ramsey could be a real shout once come back to British soil. A little bit far from Wales, though, isn't it? Newcastle. Unless he were to go to Rangers or Celtic, can't get much further away. Who else did we have in the chat yesterday? Ciro Immobile was a shout from Josh Leafy. Rugani from Juventus.
Oh yeah.
Owen said Jesse Lingard could be a shout. Yeah, I think that could be a shout. Gareth Bale, another one. I'm just naming everybody that we that we named in the chat yesterday.
But like we said, they can afford them. They can afford them.
This is the thing. I'm here looking at players and how long's left on their contract, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Really, they can buy out anyone's contract. So it could be anyone in football. But we're
going to go Haaland then. They're going to trump Man United.
Haaland.
Yeah, he's going to think he's going to get the wrong United, and they're going to go and get him. And then in terms of players leaving, Oh, that's a tricky one, isn't it? It's probably going to be Joe Linton, but I'm not going to go with that because that's a boring answer. Who else have they got?
I've just got the Newcastle squad up here. So they've got St. Maximan, they've got Joe Willock, Almiron potentially, kind of
Possibly,
Wilson.
I think Almiron could be in trouble. They'll probably go for a big name creative midfielder, won't they?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Possibly.
That's what when I saw that, I thought Almiron might be the one to go. You know.
Yeah.
Martin Dubravka, Javier Manquillo, Jamal.
Oh yeah, they've got to get a goalkeeper in.
Yeah,
surely. Dubravka was very good about 4 years ago.
Yeah. So if to give who are you saying then, Ed, as your two players here?
Good question. Who shall I go for? I went for Haaland, but I don't think that's like.
Because we are going to write this down and we are going to put it. This is brilliant.
I'm going to go Dembele.
Wow.
From Barcelona, just because of that stuff about his contract. I think he could be quite an exciting player to get. And then first player out the door.
Who's getting that
Almiron.
Almiron.
Yeah, I think they'll get some money back for him.
Absolutely lovely. Fantastic. We got a comment, and I'm going to show it because I don't actually know how this works, but it's just my mate James saying, "Let's go Tango." So, cheers, James.
Shout out to James.
Shout out to James if you're listening to the pod. Please like and subscribe and follow. But I think the last thing I want to touch on this whole Newcastle saga is it's all well and good talking about these players that might want to come to Newcastle and earn a lot of money. But my question to you, Chris, is Steve Bruce the man to bring the players to the club?
Yes.
I was going to do the awful Darren Farley impression that I've got to see.
Well, I've got to see.
But no, to answer your question.
Cheers, Chris.
No, but obviously I will go through a few things now. I mean, the way sort of Amanda Staveley sort of answered that question about Steve Bruce's future is kind of like, yeah, we're going to talk to him in a few days. I think it's going to be the talk of thanks for what you did under the Mike Ashley sort of era, Steve, but so long, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, as the song goes, and that. But it's quite interesting with Steve Bruce because obviously their next game is obviously Tottenham at home, which will be the 4:30 kickoff on the Sunday on the 17th of October, and I think that would be Steve Bruce's 1000th game as a manager, but I can't see him. I can't see him being in charge of that game because, all right, again, I'm going to compare to the Man City sort of ownership change and Sheikh Mansour and that. And it was quite interesting with Man City because obviously Mark Hughes was a manager when they sort of took over in that, and they stuck with him. They stuck with him. They stuck with him for the season, and obviously they finished 10th that season, and that, and then what is it? The following season, they changed sort of midway through. I think it was like 19th of December. They decided to bring in Mancini, and that was when they finished 5th. But then obviously Mancini, that's when the ball started rolling for Manchester City, and that's when the Champions League football and the trophy started coming then. Whereas obviously these owners are going to want to make themselves, they're going to want to make the fans happy. And obviously there was that poll earlier this week that 95% of Newcastle fans want Steve Bruce out of the football club, and I think that's just a telling sign that he's going to have to go at some point. And I think these new owners will get rid of him. And again, they just got so much money they could literally bring in anyone. And like you said, like in terms of buying players out of contracts, they have the potential to buy managers out of contracts as well. Because what's interesting is that one of the early favourites to replace Steve Bruce is Steven Gerrard, who's obviously Rangers manager, and I sort of agree what Ed said in the chat that I think it is sort of too soon for Gerrard to make that sort of jump, if you will, because obviously there's going to be a massive task ahead for whoever is the Newcastle manager under this ownership, whether it be Steve Bruce. Obviously, on another side note, going back onto Steve Bruce, it's interesting that his contract actually runs out at the end of this season, and that so like. Yeah. Whether the ownership go, Steve will put you in charge this season, but we're not having you and that, or whether they just go, look, Steve, we're just going to buy you out your contract because you haven't got long left, it's clear to see that the fans hate you, and that. But they do. I mean, 95% of them want him gone, and that. But then who would come in for this sort of period between now and January to sort of try and get results with this current crop of players, and then sort of go in the January transfer market to sort of get things done. But I could generally see Newcastle, like, if the investors want to make a big statement, I can see them getting a big manager. I mean, you just got to look at the names that are currently available on like a free. You've got your Antonio Contes. You've even got people like Zinedine Zidane.
Oh, Ed's put the betting odds here on next Newcastle.
I'll read them out in a minute.
But please gamble responsibly.
Please gamble responsibly, everybody. Especially you, Marie, who has commented, "Yo, hey Marie, hope you enjoyed the pod."
Yeah, but obviously that's interesting. I mean, another interesting one is would they be able to persuade Rafa to come back? I mean, obviously he's literally just joined Everton and that, and obviously the fans loving it at Newcastle, and Rafa, apart from the whole Mike Ashley bit in the background, he loved managing Newcastle as well. But it's going to be. It is certainly going to be interesting. I mean, personally, I cannot see Steve Bruce. I mean, I'm surprised he's even lasted this long. To be honest, I thought they would have got rid of him, but whether they might do a bit of thing in the background, the owners do a bit of background sort of research at the weekend, sort of look at potential candidates and maybe even contact potential candidates as to who they could. Because even like someone like Eddie Howe's available on a free, and I know he's someone that's been touted for like a next like sort of job in the Premier League and that, so it's definitely going to be interesting, but again, I can't see Steve Bruce lasting that much longer at Newcastle.
Well, there you go. Ed, imagine you are Steve Bruce right now. You are somewhere in the north. You are Steve Bruce. You've got to see, you've got to see it. Things are going well.
You've got a doner kebab in your hand with
a doner kebab in your hand.
Extra chili sauce on there.
Exactly.
So
imagine him.
Chips.
What they chips and gravy up there actually, Chris. I think so. I think that's probably the slight detail. But imagine you're Steve Bruce. What are you thinking right now? What's running through your head, or slowly walking through your head? I don't know if you run that much. Apart from on FIFA, he sprints.
I'm trying to channel that video of him in a press conference where he comes in and he looks really sad and he sort of looks up and goes, "Hello, morning." I think I feel a bit sorry for him. I'm not going to lie. I know his football's not that attractive, and he's basically steadied the ship at Newcastle for quite a while now, hasn't he? For that poll to come out and 95% of fans want him out, that's savage. That's got to kick me.
Considering what he's got to work with as well, it's not an awful lot.
He's not. Yeah, he's basically been given a transfer budget of whatever you can make in sales, you can then use to spend. It's a very tough job. I do feel sorry for him, but equally, I don't know how well he would do if he had infinite amount of money to spend. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because I don't think he's ever had a job where he's had big money, or not big money, but a decent transfer budget. So it's hard to say, but yeah, just on the brand of football he plays, I can't imagine him bringing in the players who are going to play that expansive attacking football that Newcastle fans are craving. So yeah, if I were him, I'd be pretty disheartened. There's an interesting point that Chris made, actually. Are they going to bring in somebody now, or are they going to wait until January? Mm-hmm. I think they'll probably bring in somebody now and basically just say to all the players that are there at the minute, you've got 6 or 7 weeks to prove that you are good enough to be in this squad.
Yeah.
You are fighting for your place. But I think there probably is an argument to say keep him in for a bit longer, keep steadying the ship, make sure you get your recruitment right, because it's going to be a huge job. You touched on it earlier, Chris. This is a massive job for somebody. So you've got to make sure you get the right manager in. So it probably might be worth keeping Steve Bruce in for a little bit longer. In terms of who's going to take over from him, you mentioned Steven Gerrard there. I agree. I think you said what I said on the chat is that I think it's probably a little bit too early for him, because this is a massive, massive job. There's going to be so much pressure on the manager that comes in and who they get. It might be the case that it's actually not the manager who's buying the players, which could be a very interesting scenario. But yeah, I think it is just a step too early for Steven Gerrard. Some of the other names that are banded around there, Antonio Conte would be an unbelievable signing, but I don't think he'd come back to England. I'm not sure. I seem to remember when he left Chelsea last time that he was going back to Italy because he wanted to be in Italy. He was fed up of England. Roberto Martinez was in there at quite short odds. He had the opportunity to do it at Everton and he didn't. I think he took over when he was at Everton when their new owners had just come in.
Yeah.
And he just did not set the world alight. He's done an okay job with Belgium. They've got pretty far in most competitions, but with that squad that Belgium have got, they should be winning stuff. Who else is up there? Zidane. Can't see that happening. Can't see him buying a house on Tyneside. Sorry. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one to see who comes in and also how much responsibility they have in terms of transfers. Are they going to give them free rein and say, look, you're in charge, the pressure's on you? Or are they going to say, no, we're going to buy the players, you just coach them? So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Ed, your early prediction. Who is going to be the next Newcastle United manager? Give me one name.
Oh.
And if anyone's in the chat, give me a name as well.
One name I didn't mention just then was Eddie Howe. He's been out of football for a while. I think he could come back with that hunger that they're looking for. But I think they maybe want somebody more experienced than that. But I just don't know who's available because I don't think they'll get Conte unless they offer him silly money.
So who's your
tricky one? I'm gonna say Eddie Howe.
Interesting. And Chris, what's your early prediction for the next Newcastle United manager? Again, if you're in the chat, give us names. Chris, who do you think? Chris, actually, do you want me to give you some more time? Because the only real better has said Mourinho from Roma to be the next Newcastle United manager, and I can see that. I can see that. It's Mourinho. If you want to steady the ship, Jose Mourinho is the guy, right?
That's the job that he craves, isn't it? That's the job. That's why he took the Chelsea job way back when. He just loves money to spend, and he can deal with the pressure. Well, unless it's like 2 years in, and then he seems to crumble and piss off the whole dressing room.
I mean, possibly. I think it would be a bit too soon for Mourinho to jump ship from Roma and that. But another interesting name. I don't think he'll get a job, but I saw like even Mancini's name get thrown around, which would be an interesting one. But obviously, to answer your question and to stop stalling, I'm going to agree with Ed. I'm going to go Eddie Howe as well, just because he's been out of football quite a while. And I know Eddie Howe is one of them that I know he prefers to work down south, because I know he did have a spell at Burnley and he got homesick and that. But I just think the amount of money he's not only he's going to earn, but the amount of money he's going to be allowed to sort of play with. James has said, "Give it Moyes." To be fair, Moyes has done a good job at West Ham, but I can't. I think Newcastle fans would probably riot if they brought in David Moyes and that as a manager.
We've said Eddie Howe. He's currently 8-1 on Sky Bet. Gamble responsibly.
Please gamble responsibly.
Who else we got in here? Frank Lampard, 14-1. I think he's same boat as Steven Gerrard. I think it's too early. I think Steven Gerrard would be a better appointment than Frank Lampard, but I think for both of them it's too early. Chris Wilder. Just going to throw that one out there. Oxford legend, as we know. What do you think about Chris Wilder, Tim?
He would. I don't think he would. I don't think he would go there, Chris. I don't know. It's the board for me with Wilder. I feel like
Can you imagine him going to Saudi Arabia and asking
I can't imagine some guy from Sheffield going to Saudi Arabia, sitting on a camel or something. I just can't see it. Chris, I don't know if you have a different view to me on that. You'll probably just buy Mark Crichton or James Constable for something.
To be fair, that's actually a good segue, actually, because obviously this Sunday is obviously the Mickey Lewis sort of memorial game at the Kassam. Rest in peace, Mickey Lewis, great guy who worked obviously alongside Chris Wilder at Oxford United as his assistant, and taken from us way too soon. And I know, like, he was like a massive hero in the local area to us as well. But To be honest, I could generally see Chris Wilder going to Newcastle, and that, all right, he might have a few standoffs with the owners and that, but like Chris Wilder's a great character. Like from like a football neutral point of view, he is a great character. Like I used to love like some of his press conferences at Sheffield United. He used to just talk about like when he was like obviously a fan of Sheffield United, how he used to just get on the bus and go to the pub after a game. I think he even did that when he was managing them. I think he used to get on the bus and go for a pint and that after the game. And in a way, he has proven himself in the Prem. It's just obviously he didn't have that. It was a bit of the second season syndrome that sort of cost him towards the end at Sheffield United.
They had so many injuries, didn't they, defensively?
Yeah.
His whole team setup was about being defensively resilient, and then he lost like 2 out of 3 of his 3 centre halves that he played every week, and he had no chance.
Yeah, but then like obviously the Newcastle's fans, if they did get Chris Wilder, instead of having like a solid back three that literally are just going to be in the 18-yard box or on the edge of the 18-yard box, they have the excitement of overlapping centre backs. I mean, how fascinating would that be? You know,
total football.
Yeah, but then I obviously I don't think that the owners are going to be too happy when Chris Wilder goes to them and says, "Yeah, I want Chris Basham in this team."
John Lundstram and Chris Basham and George Baldock in the news.
Absolutely. George Baldock. What player?
Lundstram and Baldock, especially.
I think from Chris Wilder's perspective, that I know you say he would have issues with the owners, but from his perspective, that would be the only real downside to that job. He's coming towards the end of his career, so he's not got to worry about screwing it up and ruining the rest of his career like Gerrard or Lampard or even Eddie Howe would. You know, he can go in there and kind of not. Obviously, you worry about the pressure and, you know, are my decisions and outcomes gonna make the right impact? But actually, he's probably looking for his last job. If he is looking for a job, this could be a perfect one for him. It's whether I think the Newcastle fans would want him, because they're probably now expecting a big name, aren't they? So, whether Chris Wilder fits that picture, I don't know.
Who knows? I forgot what I was going to say. That's really good for me.
Sorry, mate.
No, it's fine. Don't worry. Before I wrap up Newcastle United, Chris, early prediction. What season will Newcastle win the Premier League if they do? Just a one season answer.
Get out that mystic ball.
Yeah, you're asking the hard hitting questions tonight, aren't you?
These are the content questions, Chris.
Yeah.
This
is the clickbait.
I'm going to say it's not going to be for a while. I think I'm going to go with the 2026-2027 season that they'll win the Premier League, but I think they'll win a major trophy. I think they'll win either an FA Cup or a League Cup beforehand. There you go, Newcastle fans. You should get excited.
Ed, quick response from you. What do you reckon?
I'm just looking to see if it's mathematically possible for them to win it this year, and yes, it is. I think they are only. They are only on 3 points, and they haven't won a game yet, but they can do it. It's such a tough question. So you went 26, 27, so that's what, 5 seasons away. I think it'll be sooner than that. I'm going to play it tactical though, and I'm going to go just before the season before that. So I'm going to go 24, 25.
Very good.
So that if it happens next season, I can say I beat Chris because I was close.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. And a comment from the only real bet, 2030. So that's a good 9 years away. And we've got justification here, lads. Will take them a while to build that image that all the great players will want to join. And I think that is absolutely spot on again. Like it's not just joining Newcastle; it's the people buying to the manager, obviously. And I think Steve Bruce probably isn't that guy to get, say, Kylian Mbappe to join Newcastle United. But if it was Zidane or if it's a Conte, those good players will probably more so want to join. Because it does rain up north a lot. I've been there; it rains so much.
It's cold. It's
freezing.
It's really freezing. Yeah, 100%. It's so critical on how they play it, basically, what their strategy is. Are they going to throw money at people? In which case, you'll probably just get some merchants who go there for the money and don't really care. Might not play as well. 100% relies on the manager as well.
Yeah. Right, we'll crack on. We'll we'll do an international break one really quickly. Because I don't really want to talk about this, to be honest, but we've got it. But it's World Cup qualifiers weekend. England play Andorra yesterday. The stadium was on fire, so that's probably the most interesting thing to come out of that.
They're playing tomorrow.
They're playing tomorrow, and then there's also a Nations League final, I think, isn't it, Chris? You were saying between France and Spain.
Yeah, you got.
That's
you got it in one. You got it in one.
There we go. Yeah, really good confidence. Our survey says yes. C. We as well. So who do you reckon wins the UEFA Nations League? I mean, I didn't even know it was on. That's how disinterested I am in international football, and / also the Newcastle stuff was absolutely huge this week. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't know really. I watched the highlights of Italy, Spain. Italy obviously lost their first game in a long while. But Chris, Nations League or World Cup qualifiers, take your pick. What do you want to talk about? Because I have no interest.
Well, that's the thing. I'll be painfully honest and say I haven't watched any Nations League action. This
is going to be a really short segment.
Yeah. Obviously, I did see the scores and that. I'm going to go with France beating Spain. I think it'll be a close game, but I think France will beat them. Obviously, interesting bring up France because obviously Paul Pogba's done it again on the international break. Turin's a lovely city to live in, and that it's like you just want to get him into a room. It's kind of like the sort of Batman Joker scene from The Dark Knight. You just want to be the Batman, from that scene, and just like I was going to say, you just want to beat the hell out of him. Just get an answer. Where do you want to go, Paul? That's a terrible Christian Bale Batman piece, by the way.
It's quite good.
But yeah, it's just him stirring the pot again. It's just like just keep it in house. Just keep it behind closed doors. I mean, I get he has to live up to his image and that, but just keep that behind closed doors. Like, just don't, because otherwise you're gonna get responses from the Man United fans. You're gonna get the media that's gonna dominate Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's next press conference. Oh, Paul Pogba said this. Paul Pogba said that. And it's just unnecessary for them. But on the game itself, I think France will win. In regards to England, that was, exactly. You got to ask yourself, where's Pogba in all this? I mean,
you're absolutely spot on. Whereas Graham Souness is fuming right now.
That might even be one of Graham Souness's secret accounts. And that, but in terms of the England game, obviously that was crazy, man. It's literally happened live on Sky Sports News. The guy's commentating saying, it looks like Kieran Trippier is going to be captain. And if you just pan the camera, the stadium's on fire. And that's just the way he just casually turned around and said that. But
Very Partridge. Partridge.
Yeah. And like, there's a woman up there doing her laundry. Just hilarious. But obviously it's interesting that because obviously we all know how we love a good leak of the England team, either the day before or the day of the game. But it's interesting that it looks like Trippier is going to be captain. I mean, he's one of Southgate's loyal players, if you want. That Southgate trusts Trippier, and to be fair, Trippier is one of them. He's been a solid player for England. Like he was great in the Euros, no matter if he was playing right back or left back. Obviously, he scored that amazing free kick in the World Cup semi-final against Croatia, and he's just been a solid player for us. But I can imagine tomorrow's game, it's going to be like a rotate. It's not going to be the starting 11. If you will. I think Southgate will save that for Hungary, but I can imagine he'll give other players the opportunity. And one player I think I will talk about, because he hasn't set the world alight since he's joined Manchester United, but as somehow got into the England squad, is Jaden Sanchez. I think tomorrow could be a big game for him to sort of show, look, I am still a highly regarded talent. I'm not just one of these guys that can only do it in Germany and going to be forgotten about. I generally think tomorrow could be a huge game for him. And not only that, I'm going to talk about the two lads that obviously went to Italy and obviously have been called up into Gareth Southgate's squad, of that being both Fikayo Tomori and Abraham. It's interesting because a lot of people were quite disappointed that Tomori wasn't picked for the Euros. And I can sort of agree, because it's kind of like you're picking someone like Conor Cody as a centre-back who's only really good in the back three, whereas like Tomori, he's one of them that he doesn't just play centre back, but he can also help cover at right back as well. And Tomori is like he's just proven he's just a great player at AC Milan and that. And I think like going over to Italy and learn a bit more about the defensive game has really helped like step up his game and that. And obviously Tammy Abraham's got off to a fantastic start at Roma. I think I saw he scored 4 goals in 10 games, which obviously moving to a new country at such a young age is an absolutely fantastic start. And I only wish well for Tammy Abraham. And like, to be honest, like, I'd love to see him win sort of the Golden Boot in Serie A and that. But yeah, I mean, it should be a routine win for England tomorrow. And hopefully we can soon book our place to Qatar. Because let's face it, international football is only good when there's a major tournament. I'm sorry to put it out there, but it's a lot more.
Every 2 years. Not every 2 years.
Not every, but it happens every 2 years. Obviously, you get a World Cup and then like the Euros every 2 years. But obviously, with their sort of thing, it's kind of like, well, are we going to get rid of the Euros, or is it going to be World Cup Euros sort of thing? Which I think would be a bit too much. But yeah, major international tournaments. The only good international football, in my opinion.
Yeah. Ed, before I come to you, Kieran Tangbami Army. Just leave it there for a couple of seconds. And I'll probably
leave it there forever.
You'll leave it there forever. Ed, do you care about the international break this weekend, or are you going to watch the F1?
Just before I answer that, I love how you ask Chris. So, what do you think, Spain or France? And he goes on about Pogba.
Tammy Abraham scoring goals.
I thought this was going to be a small segment.
But in fairness, Tang said, "Oh, you answer however you want," and
I did. I gave him the.
Just call me Tangent Olive. I'm Tangent.
The floor is yours. Am I going to watch England Andorra? What time is it on? Is it 5:30?
Who knows?
It's 7:45, which Saturday night. I can imagine you're going to be having a few too many tomorrow, aren't you, Ed?
Please drink responsibly.
No comment.
Good evening.
Am I going to watch it? I'll probably keep tabs on it. I don't think I'll sit there and watch the full 90 minutes. Will I watch the F1? The F1's going to be interesting this weekend. I'm intrigued. It's charmed me.
It has the 10-place grid penalty has charmed me. It's allured me.
But yeah, I don't think I'm going to watch the full 90 minutes. No, it's only Andorra. And then just going back to the Nations League, I'm gonna back the underdogs. I'm gonna back Spain. I think it's going to be an interesting game, and I was quite pleased to see both teams. Both teams had a pretty big comeback on the night in the semi-finals, and it was good to see them like celebrating pretty passionately when they scored. So, because it's a new competition, I think when England were in it last year, it was a little bit like it wasn't as big as the other main tournaments, was it? So it's good to see that the players actually seem like they care about the tournament, which will only stand it in good stead. But yeah, I'm going to go for Spain. Ferran Torres.
Spain, Ferran Torres, lovely.
Just a quick one going back on the F1. All praise be for.
Are you going to talk about F1, or are you going to talk about something else?
I'm just going to say, all praise be to Fernando Alonso. What a man! I hope he wins. I don't care if he's last place on the sort of.
Is that just a general comment on F1?
That is just a general comment on F1. Fernando Alonso is a lovely man.
Praise be. Praise be to Fernando Alonso. Elton then said, "When will we get a face reveal for top right guy?" His name's Chris, by the way. And if you want to buy lighting for Chris so we can see his face, feel free to donate. Yeah. So please donate. Please donate for Chris's lighting.
He's like the guy that used to be the banker on Deal or No Deal. You don't actually know who he is.
Maybe I am the banker from Deal or No Deal. It's like, yeah.
I've never seen them both in the same room.
That's off from 850, mate, on this one.
Very good. The final topic that we're going to talk about tonight is something which happened.
Another one?
Not another one.
Not another one.
Topic. I promise. It happened just as we were about to go on air, and that is the nominees for the Ballon d'Or, the men's Ballon d'Or 2021. And I hope you boys have a list up, because my question to you is, who do you reckon the top three is going to be, or who might win it? And who are you surprised is in it? Because I see Simon Kjær in there. Although he did play well at the Euros, to be fair, didn't he, for Denmark? And obviously did after the whole Eriksen thing, he was very good and sort of a leader at that time. But, I'm just going to put it out there. Pedri is on there, obviously, because he played about 1,000 games last year, didn't he?
He's in there for just minutes accumulated.
Yeah, he's on there. Mason Mount's in there. Obviously, your big three: Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar's in there.
Mo Salah.
Your little dancer. He's back. He's there. And Bruno Fernandes, obviously, in there. And Philip.
There are some interesting. How many Italians are there? 1, 2, 3.
Do a little count, Ed.
4. I'll count in my head, shall I? You keep talking.
No. You no. I think we want to hear you count.
Yeah, not unless you struggle with counting.
5? What comes after 5?
Ed can't count to 6.
Pretty sure there's 5.
Okay. So, Chris, I'll come to you. Who do you reckon might win it this year? It's not as sort of simple as it is normally in previous years. It's just either Ronaldo or Messi, but I don't think it's that easy this year.
I'm just going to start with I can't believe James Henry has been robbed of an absolute landslide victory. Yeah. All he's done in League One for Oxford United, he's been absolutely robbed. It's a disgrace. Now I'll get serious now, but in all fairness, I think my top 3, like looking at the list, I think the 3, I think Jorginho will be in there just because of what he's won more than anything. I think for me, I think Diaz has got to be in there just because he was a fantastic sign for Man City. He's a great defender, and that. But my third pick and the guy that I kind of hope wins it just for what he's done is Thomas Muller's good friend Robert Lewandowski.
Yeah,
obviously Robert Lewandowski. I mean, the guy. I mean, I know I said James Henry's been robbed about not making the list. In all seriousness, Lewandowski got robbed. Like how they didn't do the Ballon d'Or last year, because that man deserved it. Obviously, he's winning. He obviously done the treble with Bayern Munich, and he was scoring all the goals for fun, and that. But you also got to look at what he's done this year. Yeah. Obviously, Bayern haven't won the Champions League, but one of the main reasons why they got knocked out the Champions League this season was, in my opinion, was the fact that obviously Lewandowski didn't play in either the 2 legs against PSG. Yeah. And I think if Lewandowski played, I think they would have beaten PSG in those 2 games. But obviously, he beat Gerd Muller's record for like highest amount of goals in a Bundesliga season. What was it? I think it was 48 or 49 he scored. Which, but I know people will say, "Oh, wow, the Bundesliga, it's not that much a competitive league." Come on, a striker scoring 48, 49 goals in a season is utterly ludicrous. I mean, Messi and Ronaldo are doing that, and you could argue it might. I mean. I don't want to cause controversy here, but obviously we love doing it.
Yeah, you do.
Please do it.
You could argue the Bundesliga is a lot more competitive league compared to La Liga, because La Liga, you've got your Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Real Madrids, and Sevillas, but then after that, obviously you got Villarreal's, Bilbao's, Sociedad's, Valencia's, but then below that, it's just not great. Whereas like Bundesliga, you've got Dortmund, Mönchengladbach, Wolfsburg, Bayer Leverkusen, and even like the teams at the bottom are. I'd say that the teams at the bottom of the Bundesliga are stronger than the teams that are bottom of La Liga. But to score like 49 goals is ridiculous. Obviously, helped buy into another title. Their 9th in a row. I think it was their 9th in a row last season. And just like his all-round gameplay, he's just one of them strikers that you sort of want to be. Because Lewandowski, he doesn't do like many flashy things. He does do some flashy things now and again, but he's just one of them number 9s that you just know when he gets in that 18-yard box in front of goal, you just know that pretty much 9 times out. To coin an old phrase from Ginge, you can put your mortgage on him scoring when he's in front of goal. And that, so for me, and obviously being the Strikers Union as well, for me, I want to see Lewandowski win the Ballon d'Or, and I genuinely think he should win the Ballon d'Or for what he's done at Bayern Munich. Not only this season, but obviously he should have won the 2020 Ballon d'Or as well.
Yeah. Please put in the chat who you think might win the Ballon d'Or this year. Chris, your early prediction for the Ballon d'Or 2021 winner is
Robert Lewandowski.
Edward, same question to you. If anyone comes in the chat, I will just completely interrupt you. But
lovely. I'll go quickly then. I'm going to say Messi. I've just pulled his stats up from this year. 45 games, 37 goals, 14 assists, La Liga top goal scorer. I think the issue as well with Messi is that he's never done it on an international level. Won the Copa America this year, was the player of the tournament in that. Yes, he didn't win very much.
I will say on that though, isn't the Ballon d'Or only for European stuff?
Yes.
So, you know, it might not.
But he still won it.
It should play into Messi's hands, I feel. But
and he only won the Copa del Rey last year, just the Copa del Rey.
Really?
So I think he'll win it this year, and it will be the last time he wins it. There you go. There's your exclusive.
That's your exclusive early prediction, which is now a thing, by the way. I've made early Bath early prediction. The EBEP.
EPs.
Nice. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, I'm just looking down the list as well. Interesting you say Ruben Diaz, Chris, because there's quite a lot. I'm on the Sky Sports tweet that announced who was in the 30. And the first one that's on there, how did Pedri, Ruben Diaz, Phil Foden, Modric, Mahrez get in this? Lol. And then somebody who's got a Man City Twitter account said, Ruben Diaz is the Premier League Player of the Year last season, yeah? Phil Foden is the Young Player of the Year. Why wouldn't they be on this list?
Oh, good voice, good voice.
They talk. Yeah, cheers.
That's a brilliant Mancunian accent.
Well, no one
Gallagher in the
Man
room.
City's from Manchester.
Yeah. It's like listening to Noel Gallagher or Liam Gallagher, whichever one's your favourite out of the two.
Yeah, good, very good, Chris. Don't alienate. Nice.
But yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to my man Mo Salah. I know he didn't win anything last year, but he's had a pretty stonking start to this season. So yeah, get him in there. Get him number 3.
And then Elton has also said, yeah, Messi. He has asterisk and correct himself, but Messi did win Copa America, and that is exactly Ed's justification on why Lionel Messi might be winning. Are you banking on Messi to win it? Is that your choice?
Yeah.
Choice. Absolutely lovely scenes.
Ronaldo in tears, doesn't clap.
Ronaldo in tears, and then Messi does a sue.
Yeah.
That's my early Barcelona prediction. Messi does a sue on stage. God, imagine the carnage that would be caused from that. Oh man, imagine. Anyway, that's it from what we wanted to discuss today. Chris, you're still there. Yeah, Chris is there. The podcast logo isn't covering him. So how long? We've been going for about an hour now. So thank you very much for those who've been commenting and listening. It's been great. Oh, and got a comment, lads. Here we go. Messi, just think he's had so much hate again. But again, he's proved his worth. Again, carrying Argentina, and the league stats speak for themselves. Again, another really good point. It's not a great season by Messi's standards. You know, he hasn't scored 1 billion goals like he normally does. But stats speak for themselves. He gets the hate, obviously. Was it Laporta that said earlier that he wanted Messi to play for free at Barcelona? It's like, come on. Yeah, like, you can't really expect him. But I think Messi's a really good shout. Even though it's not been the best season by his standards, it's still been an amazing season by normal people's standards, pretty much.
Yeah. I think before we go, we've had something in the comments to say, can we have a sue from a podcast member? Kieran, can you give us your best Andros Townsend impression, please?
Oh, God, I'm not going to try. Do I actually do it?
I think stand up and do it by the door, yeah. On a full 180 rotation.
So I'm going to end up like here, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for like, do you want me to actually do Andros Townsend style, which is really poor form?
If you want.
I'm going to go like, sue! Oh, yeah, so clip that, everyone. James said that was so horny. Yeah. I'm going to take that off. God. So yeah, just to say thank you very much for everyone that tuned in. I had a lot of fun. Talked about Newcastle for 40 minutes. Covered a lot of ground there, and we all said that Newcastle were going to win the league. So that was great. Elt said, "Love the podcast." Thank you, Elton. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we also must say thank you for 1,000 views. We reached 1,000 views earlier this week. So that was our first milestone that we wanted. And we're going to try and, I think, what's the next milestone? We're going to say 100 subscribers, maybe. Please like and subscribe and follow. Ring that bell to when we go live, because we go live nowadays.
Tell your mates, tell your family to
tell your mates, tell your family, tell your dogs and your cats and things like that. But anyway, Friday night, we'll say waving goodbye. Waving goodbye. Waving goodbye from Chris. Waving goodbye from Ed. Really enjoyed that. And we'll end broadcast. Have a lovely weekend, everybody. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.